Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to be working on Metal Ursa's 1931 Ford Model A pickup truck. Now this model is a 2-sheet model, so it's not supposed to be that long to make or that difficult to make, and its difficulty level is at about medium, I believe. And for the most part I believe that that is correct, except there are a few parts that are kind of small, that are kind of hard to work with. So you just make sure that you have a very small or thin plier and some tweezers so that you can actually work on some of those parts. So the usual suspects for the tools that I've been using are the wire snipper, the rounded tip plier, narrow edge plier, X-Acto knife, and then a tweezer. And I also have a bag of tweezers that I thought I might be needing, so I'm just going to keep them on the side for standby just in case. And a fair warning, this is going to be kind of a longer video, as I thought that instead of trying to do all these little shortcuts, that I'm just going to make it a little bit longer and do some speed ups in certain areas just so that you can see the whole process a little more than my usual videos where I try to keep it around 10 minutes to maybe 15 minutes. So I hope you enjoy this longer video, as I thought that it would be a little less hectic to watch, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you like the shorter videos, just leave a comment. I just wanted to gauge, by trying different things with the videos, to see what you guys like and what you guys don't like. I'll also try to talk less in these videos, especially because they're longer. I don't want you guys to get sick of my voice, because I get sick of my own voice. So I'm only going to pop in here and there just to kind of comment or kind of point out certain things throughout the build that I think are kind of important to talk about. So without further ado, let's start beginning to build. I did want to talk about the manual. As you can see, I'm saying that you should be twisting to attach these two pieces together, and I've been kind of quoting it or noting it in this video, when to twist versus when to bend, for the most part. And if you're not actually looking at the video and you're just following the instructions, just be aware that in the instructions they do tell you when to bend and when to twist. And so you're going to see a green triangle shape where right next to the piece that you're about to twist or bend. And so a green triangle means to twist and a blue circle means to bend. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the manual, and it will tell you pretty much when to do which bend. I also did want to talk about this method I'm doing right now, using a round plier to make a circle or a cylindrical shape. I kind of abandoned this whole method in my later builds, but this is actually an older build video of mine that I'm putting together that I'm still using this method. But what I ended up doing was I purchased a bunch of metal rods, and you can get wooden ones or plastic one, it doesn't matter, but they're all different diameters. And so it's actually easy. As you can see here with the X-Acto knife, I just wrapped it around the X-Acto knife because the bigger one was kind of about the right diameter that I needed. So having these different size rods actually helps shape a lot of these circular pieces. And so having like a set of different diameters really help just to speed up this process. So as you can see, when I was using the round tip plier, it still took some time to get a nice perfect shape, and even then it wasn't that perfect. So being able to just wrap around a rod ensures that it's a perfect circle, and it actually is a lot faster because all I have to do is just wrap it and I'm done. So for the side trim pieces, I did want to talk about the curvature. In this case, the round tip plier does help a lot because it's not a perfect circle, you're just making more of a curvature. I do have some other pliers that I purchased later on that are a slight curve, so I just clamp it down real quick and it gives me the curvature that I need. However, a round tip plier actually allows me to kind of control the shape a little better. And as you can see in this part here, I actually have to bend it in two different directions, which is a little bit harder to do with some of the other tools. If you don't have a round tip plier, another tip, which is another method that I've been using more lately, is actually not using the round tip plier at all, and I actually started using a dapping block. So you're gonna see it almost looks like if you've ever done any fondant work when making cake, there's like a fondant shaping tool where it looks like a rod with a spear at the end with different sizes. And so they have a metal version of it that's specifically for dapping, and so it comes with a dapping block, which is like this metal or wood block with these holes in it that looks like a spear shape. And you kind of use it to press down to start kind of making curvatures, and so you can use the round spear end to start making these curvatures a little easier. And so there are other model makers that actually use the dapping block a lot, and I started using a lot more recently, but a lot of these older videos I'm still just using my round tip plier for almost all my curvatures. So I did want to talk about attaching the side trims to the cars, and this is another issue that I had with some of the other car models in Metal Earth. There's a lot of curvatures, and unless you get the curvatures exactly in the perfect shape, you're gonna have a lot of trouble getting all the tabs in to attach to the body. And so it's almost impossible to get the right curvature, that you're gonna have to kind of work the metal as you go. So the best thing to do is to just start with one tab and make sure that it's attached, and then work to the next one and the next one, and kind of shaping as you go along. Don't worry about getting the perfect shape at the end, because you can always kind of shape it after you attached everything. It's more important to get all the tabs through and connected. And so, just work one piece at a time and just be patient, and it's gonna go by and it'll work. It's just that I know it can be kind of frustrating when you're trying to have all the tabs go in, so just don't try to attach all the tabs at the same time. It's just not going to really help you. Just work on it one at a time and you should be good. So I really don't like making these kind of small box shapes when the pieces are so small, just because my pliers can't fit through it. And so my advice for you for this is actually buying a tweezer. But there's a sturdy tweezer on Amazon that I bought called Chiron Tweezer Nose 450. And if you just look on Amazon, you'll see it. It looks almost like a plier, except that the edge is really thin. So I've been using it for all my builds later on, and it actually can fit through these really small spaces, and you're able to make these box shapes, or get in between a lot of tight corners or spaces to bend tabs. So I've been using it almost exclusively for my Metal Earth now, where I stopped kind of using these pliers a lot, and I just started using this tweezer for most of my builds, and it's been working great. So that's just a little tip, where you would want to try to find the thinnest and sturdiest tweezer that you can find to start bending some of these metal shapes, just because even with the smallest plier that I could find, I cannot really shape it properly. Should really be a no-brainer, but I did want to point this out, as if you watched my DeLorean video, I actually made the mistake of reversing the face of the wheel. So if you just think about it, you're gonna have two faces of the tire, and you want to make sure that the back tire face is facing inwards, which means from the outside you should just see the silver face of the back of the tire. And I made sure this time that I did it correctly, so I didn't have to take all the wheels apart and reverse that face. So this is just really important, even though the manual is very clear. If you kind of don't read the manual, or you start skimming through things because you're working at a faster pace, you might miss it and make the mistake that I did. But luckily this time I remembered and I built it correctly, so I did not have to do anything with the wheels. So I was actually really happy about this while building. I recently was looking through my analytics for my YouTube channel, and I actually realized that about 91% of the viewers are actually not subscribed. So please take this opportunity to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching this video and you want to see more, and hit the bell to make sure that you get notified when new updates or new videos are uploaded and posted onto YouTube. And if you want to see any other types of modeling or other stuff, just let me know by leaving it on the comments. If you want to see a particular model, or if you want to see different types of model builds, just let me know, because I do like working with different types of models. I've done a lot of the wood models. Unfortunately, I started my YouTube channel after I did about 50 of those wooden models, and I did not actually record any of them. So you're seeing less wooden models on this channel just because I've kind of built out all the collections of the wood models that are out there right now. But I also do sheet metals. I like doing paper models also, and so just hit it up on the comments if you want to see other model types. I did want to clarify a confusion that I had on the manual at this portion. This kind of little frame, if you see, it's going to be actually attached at a slight angle, but when you look at the manual, it looks like it's supposed to be parallel, or actually kind of horizontal to the frame, except that because it's an isometric view for the instruction, it's hard to kind of tell when it's a slightly off angle. So as you can see here, it should be a slight angle when you're attaching that piece. So I just wanted to clarify that, just because I cut it out of the video, but I was literally just staring at the instructional manual trying to figure it out for probably a good minute or so, and so I wanted to make sure that you guys did not have the same confusion that I did. do want to point out a little technique I'm using here. So usually when there's a very thin frame that I need to bend, I would actually hold the plier on the side that I want to be still, and I would actually bend around the plier. And the reason why I do that, instead of grabbing on to the plier, the piece, and then bending it, which is what I would normally do for other pieces, is that because it's such a very thin piece, if I actually use the plier to bend, what ends up happening is that the side that needs to be straight ends up kind of torquing, or actually kind of bending and warping. And so I don't want to do that, and so to prevent it is to actually hold the side that I want to be straight with the plier, then use my fingers or maybe another plier to kind of push down the other side so that it kind of bends at a 90-degree angle. And this kind of allows for it to not be warped and be a lot cleaner. So you're going to see that technique a lot. I've just never really addressed it a lot on my other videos, but that is kind of what I'm doing. Okay, so I do have to address this part just because this was a mistake, and I'm actually surprised that I've only made this mistake through this whole build, because typically by now I would have made several mistakes just because I kind of stopped reading the manual at some point, which is bad. But I did want to talk about it because if you see that silver plate on the inside of the bed, then it's bent the wrong way. So I actually made the mistake of bending it the wrong way. So you're gonna see later where I have to undo all these tabs and bend it the other way, which I really don't like doing because these metal sheet models really don't like it when you bend one way and then the other way too often. Luckily, nothing broke and it was fine, but just know that the silver plate that you see should be on the bottom of the bed, and it shouldn't be on the top side, and you're not supposed to actually see it. So I just wanted to point that out. So hopefully you're not pausing the video step by step and building alongside. It'll be good if you watch the video all the way through just to make sure that I don't make a mistake early on and I don't address it until later. Hopefully, I'm trying to address it in my other videos too. I will give you a warning just to let you know that I made a mistake here, so don't follow the step, and I'll try to explain what the mistake was. And so if you're following along, please make sure to bend it the other way than how I've shown it. Again, I'm going to reiterate something that I've said earlier, which is when you're putting together these 2 or 3 big parts and you have a lot of tabs that are on different angles and different curvatures, just make sure to start on one side and just try to work your way towards the other side. Try to fit in the tab one by one. In this case, I was doing the front 2, then the middle 2, and then just keep working together on both the left side and the right side, instead of just going in a circle, because I wanted to make sure that the pieces were kind of fitting in nicely. So I wanted to make sure that I got the front and the middle portion and the back. And so just make sure to just take your time, and kind of look at how the tabs are fitting. If it's not, you can kind of work around the metal. This metal is very pliable, so you can actually bend it around quite a bit just to get the tabs through, and then make sure to adhere all of them. So I wanted to point out that there are times where, because of the paint layer, it will actually close up some of the holes. So what you have to do sometimes is to use a hobby knife or maybe something kind of sharp to kind of poke that hole to make sure that it's open again, because the paint might have covered over it. So I've had to actually do this on a couple of these colored models by Metal Earth, and I think it's just something that you just can't avoid, just because of the painting process and everything. So just be very careful when you're working with the knife, just because, as you saw, it kind of slipped a few times. But I've worked with this hobby knife since probably 2002, so I've had this for about 18 years, so I'm very comfortable using the hobby knife. I've cut myself many times, during college when I was making a lot of architectural models. But I've learned a lot of my lessons from then, that I rarely get any cuts from my hobby knives now. So just I wanted to make sure that I put the disclaimer of, whenever you're working with a sharp edge or sharp knife, please be very careful so that you don't actually get any cuts. And with the last bend, we are complete with the model. I really love the color and the design and pretty much the details of this whole model. I love these kind of like vintage vehicles and models, just because it's so great. And if you see these final images that I've taken, there's a lot of great amount of details, and I just kind of love the green and the red contrast, and it just has that very vintage look. In terms of difficulty, this was a lot simpler than some of the other vehicle models that I've created, and just because of that alone, I think that I enjoyed this a little more, just because it was a little less challenging. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed watching this video, please hit that subscribe button, and also hit the bell or the notification if you want to get notified when I make new videos and I upload them.